Welcome to The Explainer. You know, there are some phrases in theology that we hear all the time, so much that we might not even stop to think about what they really mean. Today, we're diving deep into one of those, the blood of Christ. We're going to unpack the incredible story of the New Covenant to understand what that powerful phrase truly signifies, based on our source material.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're breaking it down into 5 parts. We'll start with an old, broken agreement, see how a perfect solution came about, understand the victory that was won, and finally, discover what it all means for you and your path to God. Okay, so first things first. To really wrap our heads around this new covenant, we've got to go back and understand the one that came before it. At the very heart of this whole thing is this one word, pacto, or covenant. Now, you got to understand, this isn't just some casual promise. Think of it more like a sacred, totally binding agreement. It's a foundational pact that defines an entire relationship.
So our source material really lays out this stark contrast, right? You've got 2 major covenants. The first one, the Old Covenant, you'll find it in the book of Exodus. It was made specifically with the nation of Israel, and it required repeated animal sacrifices. But here's the key. That pact was ultimately broken, and that's what set the stage for the New Covenant, which is totally different. This one's for all of humanity, and it's established on a completely new foundation.
So, the first agreement is off the table, it's broken. That raises a huge question, right? How do you create a new one that's going to last forever? Well, the source material explains that it required a very, very specific kind of go-between to solve a really unique problem.
And this is like a major theological puzzle. Think about it. For this new pact to work, you needed someone who could stand in the middle, perfectly representing both sides. A perfect God on one side and, well, imperfect humanity on the other. Any ordinary person would be flawed. So what's the solution? You needed someone who was, somehow, both fully human and fully divine at the same time.
And that's exactly where Jesus comes into the story. The text explains that the eternal Son of God took on a human body, carne y sangre, flesh and blood, for this very reason. It was so he could act as our representative. But because he was also divine and without any sin, he was the only one who could establish a perfect, lasting covenant. Okay, so it's this unique nature, being both human and divine, but without sin, that, according to the source, gave him the power to take on what are described as humanity's biggest enemies.
And this kicks off this incredible chain reaction. See, because he was sinless, death couldn't legally hold him. It had no claim. That means his death on the cross wasn't really a defeat, it was an attack on the power of sin itself. And since death couldn't keep him down, he resurrected. And in doing that, he defeated death. It all leads to this final knockout punch against the one who held the power of death, the devil. So you've got sin, death, and the devil, boom, boom, boom. A trio of defeated enemies.
And this is so important to get. When the biblical texts use that phrase, por la sangre, or by the blood, it's not just talking about the physical act of dying. It's really theological shorthand for the entire victory package. The sinless life, the death, the resurrection, and the ascension. All of it together is what established this new covenant.
So what really sets the new covenant apart? Well, it's that its main event is presented as this final one-and-done deal, which is a huge contrast to the old way with all its repetitive rituals.
Just look at the difference here. Under the Old Covenant, the high priest had to go into the Holy of Holies every single year after year, with the blood of an animal just for a temporary fix for sin. But in the New Covenant, Jesus, as the new high priest, enters the heavenly sanctuary with his own blood, and he only has to do it once. And it's not for a temporary fix. It's to secure a permanent, eternal redemption. See the difference? Repetitive versus once for all time. You know, our source makes a really fascinating point here. It argues that while the crucifixion was obviously essential, the ultimate, covenant-sealing moment, the climax of the whole thing, was Christ's triumphant entry into the real, most holy place, God's actual presence in heaven, and this happens after his resurrection.
Just one act, one single entry. This wasn't the start of some new yearly ceremony. It was the end of needing them at all. It was done once and for all time, securing what the text calls eternal redemption, forever.
Okay, so we've got all this theology, this big story,
But what does it actually mean for us right now? And that brings us to the final and maybe the most personal part of this whole explanation.
And this verse right here, this really gets to the heart of it. Because Christ, our representative, went in first and blazed the trail. The source says a new and living way was opened up. It means believers now have the confidence, the freedom to walk right into God's presence themselves.
And yeah, this path didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was forged step by step through that exact sequence we've been following. His death took care of the sin problem. His resurrection beat death. And his ascension and entry into heaven basically threw the doors wide open for everyone else.
So what do you get with this open access? Well, according to the source, all these amazing benefits are secured by the blood. It means sins are forgiven, it means a clean conscience, and it means a person is justified and sanctified, given this incredible confidence to approach God directly, not with fear, but as a child.
And that's where our source material leaves us. It's taken us on this whole journey from a broken agreement to a brand new open path. It's explained that by the blood, a way into God's presence has been secured forever. So, the final step is to take all that information and turn it into a question for you. If the path is truly open, what does it mean to actually walk it?